just wanna blow up, yeah, I just wanna blow up, yeah, I just wanna blow up, blow up, blow up, blow up.
Okay, so hi, hello everyone, and welcome to today's chess video. And in this chess video, we are going to learn a basics openings principles, where if you are feeling stuck in the chess or if you want to increase your elo or rating, there are some simple steps which you should follow to improve and enhance your gameplay. So let's dive into the video. This is the Leechess platform I'm using. So basically, the game phases are divided into, there are three phases of the game: the opening, the middle game, and the end game. So in the three scenarios, we have to follow some protocols, we have to follow some principles to develop our game or to win the games. Okay, so basically this is our chessboard, and each and every thing is having a certain center point. Okay, so for this chessboard, there are total 4 central squares. We call it as key squares. So remember, the first principle we are going to study is to always start the game with either e4, e5 or d4 or d5. Let's assume white plays e4 to set the control in the opening. Always remember to control the central squares. As much as you control the center squares, it is more likely to get an advantage in the middle game and even the end game. Okay, black responds the same, e5, in order to control. Now both the players are fighting for the center, like both have developed their pawns. So the first principle is totally undisturbable. Like, always remember to start the either d4 or d4. Many of your players have been starting the games like this, d4. There are many series openings here, like suppose we can say the London system, where we push up the pawns, we create a pyramid, and eventually we develop the bishops and the knights. Okay, and it is also known as the accelerated queen's pawn opening. And here let's see for the e4 and e5. Now as we completed the e4 and e5, we will have to develop the pieces. Many of the players have starting their game like this. This is the worst. Actually, this is known as the bird's opening, but it is quite none of use. Means very advanced player and experienced players are using it in some scenarios. But eventually, we are looking for the basics and simple chess tricks. So usually we start the game with the center pawn. Now here comes the main thing of the development of the pieces. Now there are two types of pieces: minor pieces and major pieces. Minor pieces means those are having small power, and major pieces are those who are having greater power. Now here the minor pieces are the bishops and the knights, which we have to develop in the in the earlier stage. And then after that we will go for the major pieces, which are rook and the queens. So simply the principle says that the knights before the bishops. Why knights before the bishop? Suppose you play the bishop move here. Now sometimes people may think that why not here? Some of the players start developing here, and eventually black tries to chase the bishops and he will be ahead in the development. Like suppose he will be pushing his pawn like this. After he can remove the bishop like this from, it is known as the dragon, and eventually he can promote to a proper gameplay. Now here, if we develop our knights, it is the most important thing to understand that don't develop the knights on this file. Why not on this files? Because it is known as there is one code which is known as the knights on rims are dims. You should not develop the knight here. Instead of this, you should always try to get your knights towards the center. Now I will choose this knight to attack this pawn. Eventually black tries to defend the pawn and develop his knight. Now here comes the second minor piece, which is the bishop, or we can simply develop this knight also, no problem. But eventually bringing the bishop here comes to an Italian game. You can see here, like on my left side of the screen, it is given Italian game. If we bring our bishop here, it is known as the Ruy Lopez game, or we can say Spanish game. Fine. So there are many variations. Now we simply go for the basics development because this is the beginners part and these are the principles of the opening. After that, you as the experience will increase, you will be able to see the proper improvement in your game. Okay, so eventually he also tries to do the same. He develops his bishop. Now which minor pieces are not developed yet? The minor pieces are the knights and the bishops. So in the knight on the b1 and bishop on the c1, these are not developed yet. So we simply try to develop them. Let's assume he moves his pawn. Now here the bishop is totally blocked. So eventually we will push this pawn one step. Why one step? This is the reason. Whenever you are making a move, just ask yourself that how many attackers are there and how many defenders are there. In this scenario, the d4 pawn, the d pawn, if we push on the d4, how many attackers are there? 1, 2 and 3. How many defenders are there? 1 and 2. So here probably we will be slightly in the disadvantage after pushing this pawn. Always remember, don't lose the center. Center is the most important thing in the game. Okay, so simply we will push it one step. After that, let's assume he brings out the knight here. It is not quite that good because our bishop is controlling this diagonal and the pawn is controlling this square. So after that, he will develop his knight here. So the knight development is quite a little bit wrong here. So we will develop our next minor piece, which is the bishop here. Now let's assume he also develops his bishop, let's say here. Is this a good move? No. Always remember that always keep your bishops on the open diagonals or semi-open diagonals. Now this is the closer, even though this is the open diagonal, but this he can't come here and he can't come here. Either he can come here, but after that we will chase this bishop like this. Okay, now the next move comes. Always the first priority should be the king safety. The king safety is the most important because of if the king has been gone from the game, eventually the game is over. So here for the king safety, there is one known as a special move, the castling. So here we can do the short castle, and if we move our queen here, now we have two options. Either we can do the short castle or we can do the long castle here. So reliably, whenever you are feeling comfortable, like let's assume he tries to chase your bishop like this here. Now what happened here? He pushed his pawn ahead in order to attack the bishop. Now is this a good time to castle on the short side? The answer is no. Why no? Because eventually he tries to attack, like suppose we castle here and he traps our bishop. Now there is no way. Let's assume we take, he takes back, and eventually after the few moves he is totally attacking our king side, which is not safe. So the king safety is the most priority, and here in this scenario what we will do, we will simply castle on the long side. Let's assume he moves his pawn here. Now on the next move he is going to trap our bishop here. So simply we will play a simple technique. We will push this pawn in order to retreat the bishop, and eventually we are ahead in the development and we are ready to castle and keep our king safe. Now let's see what happens next. Here again he chases the bishop. We simply go back and retreat the bishop, and eventually he does the move, a sneaky move, which is knight to d4. Now ask yourself, is this a correct time to take the knight? The answer is yes or no. Yes, you can trade the knights, but exchanging the pieces without any reason or without any plan gives a disadvantage in the position. So we'll just take it with the knight. He recaptures with the bishop. Now his bishop in the center, he is in the center, he is attacking our knight. So what we will do, we will simply castle on the long side. Now let's assume he captures your knight. Now ask yourself, is this the correct time to capture the bishop with the pawn from the b2 square? The answer is no. Why no? After capturing the pawn, we will open up the file and open up the diagonal to attack on the king side. And what I told you, the first priority should be to keep our king safe. So the correct move is to capture with the queen. Now he tries to attack. He's not a good player, so he goes for the attack. He goes for the unnecessary aggression. Now ask yourself, how many defenders, how many attackers are there? For this pawn, the only one defender is there, and there are two attackers here. So it's totally fine to capture this pawn. We capture it, he captures back, and we capture it with the pawn. Now here, black gets a little bit kind of uncomfortable here, because we are continuously ahead in the development and we are simply attacking him. So what he tries to do, he tries to save his pawn by bringing his queen to f6 square. Now what is the correct move here? How many attackers are there on the e5 pawn? 1 and 2. So can you find the best move here? Yes, the best move is to capture the pawn with the bishop. Exactly. This is known as the double, means skewer. If you move the queen, the rook is hanging. If you don't move the queen, we will simply capture the queen. So what white does? White gets greedy and captures the pawn. And eventually we capture his rook here and we are ahead in the development. So what he tries this move, attacking this rook. Now here is the simple positional play. Like we can simply give a check using the rook, check. Now if the king goes on the f8 square, what is the correct move here? Can you find the correct move, best move here? Yes. So the best move is to bring the queen on the g7 square and deliver a beautiful checkmate. What if he goes on the another square, which is d8 square? What is the correct move here? Yes, the correct move is queen to d8 and give a check. Okay, so he will try to run away in the corners. We will simply capture it, the pawn here. And again, white tries to get greedy again here and goes for the capturing the pawn. And can you find the checkmating move? The checkmating move is rook to e8, and this is a beautiful checkmate again. Okay, so these are the principles you need to follow. I will just repeat. Always try to keep the control on the central squares, which are the key squares. Then after that, develop your minor pieces, knights before the bishops. After that, what you need to do is simply give the first priority towards the safety of the king. Before the 10 moves, your castling should be have done here. Let's assume here. Okay. So these are the first principles of the opening. Hope you like the video, and do like, subscribe and share this video, those who need. And if you're new to chess, it's a very long journey, and welcome to the chess zone. Okay, now I'm signing off this video. Okay, thank you for watching.